and candidates who are joining us this evening. My name is Taylor Harbuck. I'm with OSU Career Services in the Ferguson College of Agriculture, and I will be moderating our panel. And we have three great representatives from three different organizations this evening joining us. And so we'll talk about tips for the career fair and what the employer perspective looks like. And so before we start that, we will be recording this for future students to look at this and go back and reference it. If you'll notice in the chat, we have a couple of different upcoming events for the remainder of the week as we continue to prepare for the fair. The first of that is tomorrow, the Career Fair Test Drive on the Career Fair Plus app from 2 to 6 p.m. Our next events are Friday, the Career Fair Help Desk from 9 to 4 on September the 11th, and then Suits in the Union in the Student Union store from 11 to 4 on Friday as well. So be sure to check those events out as we continue getting closer to the fair. So with that, we'll start with introductions. We have three organizations and three people representing this evening. We have Kelsey Lee with InterWorks. We have Maddie Alwine from Farm Service Agency, USDA, and we have Shay with One Gas. And so I will let them start introducing themselves. Kelsey, you're first on my screen.
Thanks, Taylor. Hi, everyone. My name is Kelsey Lee, and I'm the Manager of Talent Development and Outreach at InterWorks. InterWorks is an IT consultancy whose world headquarters are here in Stillwater, Oklahoma. We do a variety of IT work, including IT infrastructure, but we also do a lot of business intelligence, business analytics work for about every Fortune 100 company that is on the list right now. We are excited to be at the Business Career Fair next week, and I'm excited to get to share some wisdom and knowledge with each of you today. Prior to InterWorks, I was at OSU in career services for almost 8 years, and I spent some time in the College of Agriculture as well as in the Spear School of Business. So excited to answer any questions that you might have tonight about preparing for next week.
Okay, next, I think Maddie is on my screen. I'll let her go.
Good afternoon. My name is Maddie Alwine. I'm the Outreach Coordinator and Public Affairs Specialist for the Oklahoma Farm Service Agency. So Farm Service Agency, we have different programs for disasters. Some of those are WHIP, Wildfire Hurricane Indemnity Program, or CFAP, Coronavirus Food Assistance Program. And these programs just kind of help farmers if they're in need or if they've been hit by some sort of natural disaster, or if their cattle suddenly die, we can offer some payment and try and be there for the farmers in order to assist. We also provide loans, so we're also a loan agency, and we can give out loans to other farmers, and we partner with other banks if they need to have their loans guaranteed. We have a presence in 59 counties, and our state office is located in Stillwater. I came from Arizona, and I went to Oklahoma State to ride on their equestrian team, and I just graduated in December of 2019 and went directly into this position in January. I started off with the USDA National Agricultural Statistics Service and continued to work for them while I was finishing up my last semester. And I hope I can answer your guys' questions and kind of give you the insight to how you might be able to secure a government job if that becomes presented.
Thanks, Maddie. Next, Shay.
Hello, so I'm Shay Glover. I'm the college recruiter at One Gas. So we are a natural gas distribution utility company. So you might be familiar with Oklahoma Natural Gas. And I've been with the company for over a year. So I started last July. And I was previously working at the University of Oklahoma in academic advising and did some recruiting there. I worked with student organizations. So now I'm kind of on the corporate side. And I have loved my experience at One Gas so far and still have the opportunity to do recruiting and work with students. So it's been a lot of fun. And I am also an OU grad. My manager is a graduate from OSU, so she wasn't available for the employer panel, so sorry you have a Sooner fan on here tonight. So you got stuck with me, but again, I'm the college recruiter, so I oversee our college recruiting efforts in Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. So we have 3 divisions, and we do primarily recruiting with OSU for our summer internship program. So we will be participating in the OSU Business Career Fair and the OSU Engineering Career Fair. And we'll have multiple job postings for our internships in hireosugrads.com that you can apply to until the day of the career fairs. And we'll have several representatives on the Career Fair Plus app that you can make one-on-one appointments with. And looking forward to talking with you guys tonight.
Thanks, Shay. Thank you for you all introducing yourselves. So as you can see, we have 3 very different perspectives, 3 different industries, from agriculture to business to technology. And so there's different things. And so that was our goal with this panel, is to kind of spread it out to give a different perspective in the hiring process and this virtual career fair in the world we're kind of navigating. So now I'll move into some questions. Panelists, just feel free. I'll probably try to get the rhythm going and probably identify questions, but as you feel free, just feel free to jump in. So our first question, how should students prepare for a virtual career fair differently than in a traditional in-person fair? So Shay, would you want to start with that?
Yes, I can. So I think the benefit of having a virtual career fair through the Career Fair Plus app is that you have the opportunities to schedule your one-on-one appointments with employers in advance. So you have an opportunity to build your schedule and really think through who you're meeting with. And the other nice thing about Career Fair Plus is that we can put descriptions on there, so you can see, you know, these appointments are for an HR internship, or this appointment's for an accounting internship. And then you can also research the company, so you can look at their career site and even read their job description. So I think you can be really intentional about the employers that you're meeting with. You have the opportunity to be well prepared for those one-on-one sessions. So I think ways that you can stand out is to really research the companies that you have appointments with, to come prepared knowing about that company and their industry. So for example, for us, we're a natural gas distribution company, so a lot of students don't know that, or if we have engineering majors, they may be more familiar with an upstream company. So if you are interested in meeting with one gas, you have the opportunity to understand that we're a downstream distribution company. And if you can come prepared with that knowledge, I think it speaks a lot. And then you can also come prepared with questions to kind of help facilitate those one-on-one appointments. So I know they're not intended to be interviews, but if you come prepared and you have questions to kind of move that conversation along, and find ways that you can stand out. And of course, like we're on here, you can have your video on and you can be attentive and engaging and still have nonverbal behavior, active listening, and smile, show your enthusiasm. So I still think there's ways that you can do that virtually through that platform. So those would be some of my tips for that.
Thank you, Shay. Kelsey.
I'd like to echo a lot of what Shay said. There is probably more room for you to be prepared for next week in knowing what companies do and what types of roles they have open before or than ever before. So at a career fair, you might know the list of companies that are coming and know where they're located in Gallagher-Iba. But next week, you're going to have the opportunity to do a lot of research ahead of time because of the scheduled meetings. You're able to really hone in on who you want to meet with. Like Shay said, I did the same thing. So I have the positions listed, who the recruiter is, and what you need to talk to them about. So definitely do your research, get on LinkedIn, visit hireosugrads.com to find out information about the companies. And because we're in a virtual world, make sure that you have that Google browser right there ready to Google questions in between talking to employers. I would still encourage you, though, to dress professionally. Ensure that your video is turned on. So I attended the part-time and volunteer job fair a couple of weeks ago, and I actually talked to at least 2 students who had their camera on, but were not aware of where their camera was pointed. And so I got to talk to the ceiling of their dorm room. So be sure to connect with the events that are coming up tomorrow and the help desk if you need any help in testing that out. Higher OSU grad team is here for that. And I would just encourage you again to get your resume checked out, make sure that your LinkedIn profile is correct and up to date, and get excited. It's new for all of us, really. So don't. The one thing that I would encourage you to try not to be nervous, because we're all in it together, using a new platform.
Thanks, Kelsey. We kind of covered a lot of different perspectives. Maddie, do you have anything to add to that, to those responses?
No, not really. I think these ladies really hit the nail on the head. Um, Biggest thing for us is when you're in person is you can really read some body language, and you can go to the table and grab your little pamphlet, and it helps you immediately generate discussion. But since we don't have that luxury anymore, we think it's really important for you to be open for discussion and for you to kind of initiate it. And I understand that the USDA is kind of a complicated department in understanding which agency you're speaking with, and we all kind of connect with each other. So if you have any questions about another agency, don't feel embarrassed if you come up to us and you're actually trying to talk to NRCS and you're like, oh, don't be embarrassed. We're more than happy to discuss with you. Our opportunities are their opportunities as well. So our biggest thing is just be open for discussion, because that's going to be the easiest way for us to get to know your personality and for you to get to know more about our agencies.
Thanks, Maddie. So we'll move into the second question. So we're in a lot of uncertainty at the moment. So during this time of uncertainty, what are the most important things that you prioritize while looking for a candidate? So as somebody that's going to be talking with students and recruiting, what are the things that you're prioritizing in this uncertain time? Anybody can jump in, whichever.
I'd say the number one trait, and this is something that we look for normally, is adaptability. So because things are changing really every hour in this uncertain time, the skill of adaptability and being able to pivot and kind of go with the flow, see what happens, and go from there is a skill that I think is really important for us to see in candidates. And I would encourage you as students to think about things. So whether that's from last semester when everything went online in March, or I'm sure that you've encountered something over the summer, or already in the first few weeks of school. Tell those stories of how you are adaptable, and how you're willing to go with the flow and meet those challenges head on and come up with a new solution.
Anybody? Shay, what about you?
I think something else you can speak to in addition to that is, like, what have you learned from this experience? So I've heard some students talking about, a lot of my classes went online in the spring. And for example, our company has been working remotely since March. So being able to talk about maybe time management or what you've learned from having to have a little bit more maybe self-discipline or accountability while doing your classes online, so you can speak to that. And then I'd say another thing is probably communication skills. So again, you'll have these virtual video one-on-one chat sessions. So you might have to emphasize your communication skills a bit more. And like the other employer said, to kind of facilitate discussion. So again, being prepared and having questions in advance and to facilitate those discussions with employers, I think are some ways that you can stand out, and they're probably going to be paying attention a bit more to your communication skills. And that's even going to transfer to when you have a potential internship or full-time opportunity. With us working remotely right now, we have to communicate even more than if we were in person. So I have more check-in meetings and team meetings with my team, and we have to communicate more and be more intentional working remotely. So that might be some things that they're looking for. For example, we had our internship converted to a virtual program this past summer. So interns had to be practice, better communication skills with their manager and mentor, check in with them daily. So I'd say if you can focus on your communication skills in those one-on-one appointments, that would be very beneficial. And I think that's all I have.
Maddie, what about you? What are you looking for when you're prioritizing looking for a candidate?
The only other thing I would add, both those ladies had really great suggestions, is enthusiasm. We are really looking for somebody who can kind of be adaptable, but they're really encouraged and are excited about what they're talking about. And passion really shows through, and it's really difficult to kind of comprehend that we can sense this, but it's really important for you to be passionate about what you're talking about. And for us, that will go into the field. So if you decide that you want to apply for a farm loan officer trainee position, you're going to go into the field and you're going to talk to Farmer Bob, and you guys can talk for hours about cattle, but you guys are going to build a relationship on that. So if we see that you're really enthusiastic and passionate about what you're talking about, it's really going to be exciting for us to want to pick you, because we're passionate about agriculture too. So we're just really drawn to people who are really encouraging others to be part of the industry as well.
Thanks, Maddie. That kind of leads me into the next question. So we're in this virtual world. Engagement looks very different. And so how do you show that enthusiasm? So what can candidates do to show that excitement or that enthusiasm with the virtual setting? We don't have that body language ability. And so what can students or candidates do to showcase that passion or enthusiasm?
Personally, I find when I speak to somebody through the computer screen, I find the most passion when people are really engaging me with other questions. And so it's really easy to ask, like, okay, what does the agency do? But I'm really interested in you guys kind of looking for the path on how I decided that this agency was the best fit for me personally. And so then that will kind of help you understand what you can be looking for. So many people might, if you're a freshman coming into the career fair and you're looking for internship opportunities, I would look for people who are eager to see how they can continue to understand what they're going for and how they can better their career, because somebody who's really excited about their job is the people who do the best job. So the more questions you ask, and tone of voice is another big kicker for us. So if you can really just kind of engage with us, then it makes us a lot easier to see that you're actually truly interested in it.
Thanks. Kelsey or Shay, anything to add?
I think Maddie hit the nail on the head. Definitely, I don't want you to seem like over dramatic, but I think in the virtual world, it's more important for you to be a little more intentional about your voice inflection and your even like your eyebrows. You naturally, when you get excited about something, your eyebrows go up when you start to speak about that. So just be a little more intentional about some of those nonverbal cues that it would be very easy to pick up if you were standing right in front of someone. But because we have computer screens in front of us, I think that just being a little more attentive to that will really help and be able to show your enthusiasm and be able to build that connection.
Yeah, I would just like to add just showing that you're engaged and you're attentive and you're listening. So when the employer is talking, just showing that you're engaged. And then the other points that they mentioned on communicating that enthusiasm. So smiling, using what nonverbal behavior you can during that virtual session. Also, something else that you could do is get on Teams or Zoom and you could practice with your roommate or a friend and see how your communication skills are and you feel like you're communicating that enthusiasm or passion or whatever you're interested in. And then I would say something else is to maybe as you are researching certain companies or industries to also consider how can I add value to this business. So if I'm going to apply to this internship program, what are some things or ways that I can bring value to them. So that would be another way for me to show, okay, this student's interested and they're showing enthusiasm for this position and this potential learning experience. So that's about it.
Thanks, Shay. So as we move on, we kind of talked about, this virtual environment, and so many of our students are still new to navigating the virtual learning environment, just like all of us working are new to navigating that. And so, what advice would you give to students who are maybe, or candidates, even alumni maybe, who are nervous joining a virtual platform and having that virtual conversation, or maybe who are discouraged about participating due to the virtual nature? So what advice would you give them to help them get past that nervousness or discouragement? Shay, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate my previous tips. So I definitely say practice. When I got into my new role as a college recruiter, majority of the time I'm doing presentations to schools. And I had to learn about a new company and our company overview. And so the more that I practiced that and understood what I was communicating, just the better and easier it got. So I would definitely practice as much as you can before the virtual career fair. And even if it's uncomfortable or awkward, practice with a friend. So I have done my presentations in front of my husband just to practice, one more time. I do have to do several presentations to business leaders across our organization. Working with VP is something I wasn't familiar with. So again, the more I practice, just the easier that it got. So I definitely say practice is key. And something else to consider is the virtual career fair, at least for our company, is key to our recommendations for our interview days. So for our internship program, the students that we interact with at a career fair are going to be the ones that we recommend for our interview day. So I'd say definitely understanding the importance of these career fairs and this networking opportunity to meet with employers is important. And I would definitely be as prepared and practice as much as you can before that day.
Thanks, Shay. Kelsey, do you have anything to add?
I know that we mentioned the drop-in rooms. So when I was at Career Services, I would always encourage my students to pick a few companies to really practice on. I know that sounds maybe not great, but if you know that you really want to get an internship with One Gas, you probably shouldn't start there. Go to a couple of different places, kind of get warmed up. I don't know if anybody goes to the gym or plays an instrument. You typically do some warm-ups or practice before you go right into a rehearsal or running 10 miles. So I would encourage you to do the exact same at the career fair. Like Shay said, practice with your friends. Come to the events that higher OSU grads are doing tomorrow, as well as I think even if you popped into the help desk, they probably would let you practice on them on Friday. So that practice really is important. And again, I would encourage you to do that on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday next week with some employers. If you popped into my room, I would be happy to help you practice that 30-second commercial and get kind of warmed up before you went to speak with someone else, or especially before you go to one of your 10-minute appointments. Definitely pop into the pop-in room and get warmed up.
Thanks, Kelsey. I'd been presenting with classes the last couple of weeks for faculty, and so I've been kind of telling that I was like, don't be scared to schedule 9 or 10 or 7 or 8 different 10-minute appointments to get yourself warmed up, to get in gear, because it is a building process. So, Maddie, do you have anything to add?
No, not really. Kelsey, that was a great suggestion about the warming up and everything like that. I really, when I was doing career fairs, I wish I thought of that because it kind of just made my heart stop beating so hard talking about practicing and stuff. So I would really take advantage of that suggestion. Another thing that Kelsey mentioned earlier um, is using Google. You know, we have a virtual thing, pull up another screen, and if you have a question or you can't really quite remember that, go ahead and Google it. It's totally fine. And just don't feel discouraged about using this new platform because, yes, it's unfortunate, but there's so many other new benefits about it. So, I mean, kind of go for it and just, it'll be fine. I mean, employers, we're still new to this platform too. But if you do make a mistake or you bobble or you start to get nervous, take a deep breath and just kind of slow down. And I know that I feel like I'm talking really slow, but I'm actually probably talking really fast. So if you just take a breath and then you feel like you're talking too slow, you're probably talking in an okay speed. But don't feel discouraged about this new format because we're right there with you and we're learning too. And to see how you can adapt and be flexible with this, it's going to really help us be encouraged about potentially hiring you.
Great. Thank you, Maddie. Time is flying. We're already 30 minutes into this. And so next question we'll go into, so maybe what are some pet peeves that you might have about meeting students virtually online that they can avoid? So think about some things that you've encountered. Kelsey already mentioned one thing about cameras. So maybe what are some other tips for students that they can avoid during this process? Feel free for any one of you all to jump in.
A lot of things that I've encountered are poor audio quality. So make sure, again, that you're practicing. If you have AirPods or a headset or something that you can use to really ensure that your audio is picked up clearly. Again, make sure that you're in a quiet room, not in a living room or somewhere where your roommate might be coming through. I think that the video quality that I mentioned earlier and then the audio quality would be two big things that I would encourage you guys to, again, test and test and test and be ready to test the same day. Many of you found us here on Zoom, but you never know what might happen. So be willing to be flexible and adaptable to that technology issue that might come up. And if something does fail, just apologize and move on. Don't let it bring you down and influence the rest of your day.
Thanks, Kelsey. Shay, what about you?
Well, I just had to say that, at least for us, we've been working virtually since March, and we have employees with children in the home and family members and pets. So we completely understand that sometimes there are distractions, but do the best that you can to, limit distractions and to, set up your space. Another tip that might ease some of your concerns is maybe have some post-its around your laptop or on your desk or wherever you are as kind of reminders or helpful tips as you're navigating these one-on-one appointments. So you can have some paper near you as reminders to help with that. And I think, again, on that engagement piece is so important. So I have been in some sessions with students where they're not looking at us or they're looking away. Their laptop isn't eye level. And so I think just showing the employer that you're listening and that you're engaged and that you're looking as much as you can with eye contact to do that, and just to show that you're interested, I think is a good thing. So not being disengaged. And again, the audio is important. So testing the platform beforehand, practicing, again, limiting distractions, setting up your space, setting reminders, all that's going to help create a really positive experience with those employers.
Thanks, Shay. Maddie, what about you? What's one pet peeve that sticks out to you?
For us, it's not looking at the camera. Maybe looking down at the computer screen or coming over here, or if you're writing things down, which it's great you can write things down, but if you're like sitting here and you're writing things down while we're talking, it kind of muffles the voice and makes it a little bit difficult to understand and hear. But other, like maybe just kind of staring if we're talking to you. Eye contact is another one of those big things that we're missing by not being able to do this in person. So if you can kind of just engage with the camera, that's enough. And so just kind of looking down, or if you're looking at the ceiling and just looking around and just not being engaged with what you're talking to us about, it'll make a really big difference than if you are really right here and focused.
Great, thanks. Let's see, our next question. So, students are going to have the ability to make 10-minute appointments with you, or the drop-in rooms. And so the drop-in rooms, for that exploratory piece, but maybe the 10 minutes for the more intentional, what, as a recruiter, as somebody recruiting, what is your preference? Students had to choose, what should they try? Should they pick the drop-in room, or should they pick that 10-minute appointment?
I know for us, we don't really have a preference. It's whatever works best for the student, whatever you're the most comfortable with doing, it works for us. Either way, we take it as a compliment that you're excited to come and speak to us or engage with us. And we're happy to talk to you, whether it's a scheduled time or if it's just a drop-in. There's really no, if you're just interested in general information and want to know more about the Farm Service Agency, but maybe don't want to pursue a job, that's perfectly fine. We're still more than happy to engage and speak with you. So long story short, whichever one works for you works for us.
Thanks. Kelsey?
I would say for us, the way I set everything up, the appointments are for more specific, like technical information. Whereas if you want just some general information and high level information about InterWorks, the drop-in room is where you would want to go. My one little note, I've seen lots of students that have signed up on multiple 10-minute schedules, and because we're not able to really man the booth like we would be in person, I would say be respectful of other students too. So if you've taken up 3 appointments at InterWorks, that limits who else we can talk to. So make sure when you're scheduling those appointments to be sure that you've done your research and you know that you're talking to the right person that you would want to talk to. And then again, if you don't get all of your questions answered after that 10-minute appointment, definitely use the pop-in room to kind of wrap things up.
Thanks. Shay, what about you?
Well, I'd say for us that the drop-in room, which I'll be in there, or potentially another recruiter, would serve the purpose of answering kind of general questions or just to kind of learn more about the company. And then for us, since we primarily recruit at OSU for our internship program, ours is set up where we have business representatives from engineering, accounting, IT, HR, communications on there that are set to discuss that discipline area. So if we have someone from our communications department, they have a schedule to talk about our communications internship. So to get the most benefit out of that networking opportunity to showcase yourself to the employer and potential recommendations for an interview day, I'd highly recommend doing the one-on-one appointments. And also, as the college recruiter, I majored in human relations, so I'm not going to know as much as an accounting representative if you're interested in an accounting full-time position or internship. So if you're interested in one of our discipline areas, I highly recommend those one-on-one appointments if you want to learn about that department within our company.
Great, thank you, Shay. Our next question. So, we've talked about kind of the drop-in room, the 10-minute appointments, but then, okay, let's say those students are going to make they're making those 10-minute appointments with you to really have that one-to-one conversation. As recruiters, as employers, what are you hoping to discuss in that 10 minutes? Do you want to kick us off, Shay?
So I'd say for us, I think it's the opportunity for a student to, again, showcase themselves to our business representatives that are recruiting for our internship program, but also for you to give you a chance to gain some insight into our company, our employees, hopefully get exposed a little bit to our work culture and just learn more about us to see if we would be a good fit for you. And so that's kind of how ours are set up. So again, I'd come prepared. I think it shows a lot for us just because a lot of people don't know about Oklahoma natural gas. So specifically with engineering, if they understand again that we're a downstream distribution company and they have that knowledge prepared, and then they have some good questions to ask our engineers, I think that shows a lot of interest. And then it's really just, we want to be there to serve the students, to educate them about our company and opportunities, or even just to talk about, for example, the engineering field in general, or what it's like to graduate from OSU and start a career as an engineer one. So I'm really there to just kind of serve students and to share information about our company.
Great, thanks, Shay. Kelsey?
I would say those 10 minutes should be used 50% to kind of showcase yourself. And I think Shay mentioned how you could bring value to that specific company that you're speaking with. And then 50% of the time should be kind of you also interviewing the company. So this could be your potential internship or full-time job. So you want to be able to ask some questions about company culture, about details specific to that internship or full-time role that you might be interested in. So this is definitely where that preparation comes into play. I think that you should have, again, kind of that 30-second elevator speech or infomercial about yourself, and that's a great way to start that 10 minutes off. I was flipping through Career Fair Plus since we got started, and make sure that you have your profile up to date. So I've got students on my schedule that don't have resumes attached to their profile, so make sure that you've done that ahead of time, because that's another perk from our side. We can go in and kind of review those and be looking at things ahead of time, and we'll have some specific questions, I'm sure, for everybody that we talk to. So that's kind of my advice. 50% for you to tell me how you would be an asset to InterWorks, and 50% for you to kind of get a feel if InterWorks is the right place for you.
Thanks, Kelsey. Patty, do you have anything to add?
Just in addition to what the lady said, we're really interested in what are your career interests. Are you interested in loans? Are you interested in just helping agriculturists? Where are you interested in living? And a lot of things can change, and so we understand that. But as of right now, like, where do you think you would be best suited? Are you looking for an internship? Are you looking for full-time employment? And if you're looking for an internship, why do you think that you'd be suitable, and how can you help our company be better? As well as, what do you think our company can do to help you be better for the future? And we want to know where you're interested in, and how we can help you achieve your goals. And if you're not interested in say working directly with farmers and ranchers, then we might not we'll discuss it, and then we can be a great practice interview. But I think it's really good to go into these career fairs understanding what you want to do a little bit, and just kind of as of right now in this moment, you're interested in A, B, and C.
Thanks. We'll do a couple more questions and then we can leave some room for other students to ask questions. I know we've got some things in the chat box as well. Looking at, so what are some recommendations that you would give students on the best way to follow up with an employer that you met at they met at the career fair? What are some of your best tips or best ways for them to reach back out in this virtual environment to follow up after the career fair? Kelsey, do you want to start us?
Sure. I think the follow-up is probably going to be more important now in a virtual setting than ever before. So I would encourage students to connect with me on LinkedIn, and then definitely shoot over an email or a handwritten thank you note that just says, hey, thanks for chatting with me at the career fair. Maybe put in a little reminder about something that you shared with me at the career fair. So when I get it, I can kind of put that resume or picture in my mind with that follow-up. And I think that those would be the biggest ones. I do know that I think on our side, since we have a schedule, we'll be able to track and really know who we talk to a lot easier than kind of the madness at a normal career fair. So that's an advantage from the employer side. But just because we have that doesn't mean that you shouldn't follow up. So again, LinkedIn, send that thank you note or thank you email within kind of next week time frame in following up.
Great, Kelsey. Maddie, what about you?
Always get our contact information. A lot of times when I was going through the career fair last year, I would come up with a question after I already left or overnight when I was overthinking everything while I was about to go to bed. And so I'd be like, oh my gosh, I really wish I knew this. And if I got their contact information, I could. And so even after the career fair and you have a question about the agency, you're more than welcome to reach out. And whatever way you're more comfortable with works for us. I will answer my email all the time, or I will answer the phone all the time. So whatever you're comfortable with, I'm comfortable with, and I really just want to just if you have any questions, then you're more than welcome to reach out at any point.
Thanks, Maddie. That's a big one. Shay, what about you?
So I believe in Career Fair Plus, when we create our profile, we can put our LinkedIn profile link. Is that right, Taylor?
Correct. Yeah, the students have that ability as well as the actual recruiters do as well.
Okay. So it is possible that we'll have our business representatives post their LinkedIn kind of profile link. So that's an easy way for you to follow up. I really favor LinkedIn. I really enjoy being able to do kind of an event like this and say, hey, add me on LinkedIn so we can stay in touch. And that's an opportunity for you to kind of follow the company on social media, see what they're doing. It also, I mean, it's a great research tool. So if you're able to find a company on LinkedIn, you can see their community engagement, kind of what's going on with the company, the status of the company. And that's just extra talking points that you can get whenever you have those one-on-one appointments or even in your interviews. So just kind of helpful tip. I think LinkedIn's a really great source. And then for our company, we do have a talent acquisition office in human resources. So I'm the college recruiter, but we have full-time recruiters that fill our full-time positions. So they're also on LinkedIn, and they use LinkedIn as a job board and recruiting tool. So if you can follow up with me or our recruiters or even those business representatives that are on there for the one-on-one appointments through LinkedIn, I think that's a great way. You can send thank you emails, and I think also just participating in employer events at OSU. So when they invite employers for info sessions or workshops or anything, just kind of keeping up with those employers, attending those events, it just gives you another opportunity to learn from the employers, expected what they're looking for, learn more about the company, continue networking, and to stay in touch.
Thanks, Shay. I've got a couple more questions, but we're going to try for one and then maybe answer some of the questions that are in the chat. Let Lindsay kind of provide those to you. The next question is, of all the advice you've given so far this evening, what is the number one tip or piece of advice that that a student or candidate should take away to be the most prepared for next week's career fairs? And go, whoever.
I'd say my number one tip would probably be research companies. I think when I look back on students that have stood out to us at career fairs, it was the ones that were prepared. They knew about our company and they had questions, to ask us, so they were engaged.
You saved the hardest one for last, Taylor. My one piece of advice would be, again, to practice with your technology. I think that that will be something that is so very important to have working properly and to be comfortable using. So like we've mentioned, practice, practice, practice in the next 7 days, whether that's, again, on Zoom. You can go, if you just Google Zoom and like test room, you can populate a practice room to look at your audio and video. I think Shay mentioned Teams. I think as OSU students, you probably all have access to that through your Microsoft 365 platform. And then again, with the Career Fair Plus app, I think that you can do some testing in there too. So make sure that you do at least one of those before next week.
Great. What about you, Maddie?
In my head, when you asked that question, I was torn between two answers, and one of those answers was research your company, and the second answer was practice. So that I'm sounding really unoriginal, but I would really take some time to practice with your roommate, practice with your friends, and I've been there. I promise it's going to be a little bit awkward, but if you can sit there and talk to your friend about a potential career with a straight face, you can come up to me or Shay or Kelsey and talk to them with a straight face. It's going to be so much easier talking to a stranger than it will be talking to your best friend. And another one that I really liked that I heard and I wish that I did that when I was younger, was go and test run with other companies. Because when I was walking through the career fair, I would go, okay, I only want my 5 people. I'm going to stop at Tyson Seaboards or so-and-so and so-and-so every time. And so I would talk to them and be like, oh, and then walk around, and then I'd feel weird when somebody would come up to me. So then I'd talk to them, and my best interviews were with the people that I was just kind of talking to just to talk to. And so, I really, really recommend just going to another people that maybe you don't want to have a job with and just say like, and run through your questions and ask them about their job and ask them about their position and how they got there. And that can kind of help kickstart some thoughts inside your head and questions. And you're not going to know that you have a question about something until you remember that you have a question about it. And I only remember if I have a question about something if I start talking. So if you kind of get that off your chest with somebody else, it will really help you be more comfortable and confident when you're talking to the employer that you actually have an intent with.
Thanks, Maddie. Now we have about 8 or 9 minutes left. I will let Lindsay we have a few questions in the chat so she can kind of address those to the panel.
Sure, we have some good questions. The first one is that I know that first impressions are very important. In a world without handshakes in traditional introductions, how would you like a student to start a meeting with you? Kelsey?
Again, I mentioned this earlier, make sure that you have that 30-second commercial or elevator pitch about yourself. Although we can't shake hands through the computers, you could still just come up and say hi and get started into that. And I think that actually speaks volumes if you've got the confidence to come right in and just introduce yourself and really set the tone for that conversation. That's probably the best way to do it. And like I said, we just won't shake hands, but I think it's still very similar to the way that you would come up in an in-person fair and introduce yourself.
Perfect. Shay?
I'd agree with that, and I'd also like to plug OSU Career Services, or I can't remember if it was the Easton Center for Career Readiness, but whoever's doing the Tuesday Tea videos, there's a great one they just did, I think, with Abby, where she did an example kind of introduction or elevator pitch. So I would definitely check that out. She had a good example on there.
Okay, what about you, Maddie?
I agree again. Yeah, just come in with confidence and say, hey, my name's Maddie Elwine. I'm an agribusiness major at Oklahoma State. I'm interested in your company because I really enjoy helping farmers and I want to help further the agricultural industry. What can you tell me about the positions that you have available? That is something, if somebody came up to me, I'd be like, okay, here's my list. Like, I'm really excited to talk to you. You came up here and you have confidence. I'm in. Let's get to talking.
Great advice. Okay, so the next question is, what should we do if there isn't a time slot available with a recruiter for our discipline?
I would say if you see a schedule full, I would reach out to OE Career Services because we have like our employer relations coordinator so they can notify the business, say, hey, your schedule's full. Can you add an additional representative? So for example, for us, we have several representatives on there, but I also have backups. So I'll be monitoring the schedule, but for example, if there's an employer that's not monitoring it as closely, I would just say, reach out to Career Services and be like, hey, this employer's schedules are all full. Can you see if they can add someone? So I'd recommend that.
I would do the same thing. Definitely utilize that pop-in or drop-in room on the day of the career fair. Again, we already have some schedules full, and I had some students reach out to me on LinkedIn and ask me what can I do. And so again, be in contact with the employer as well as hireOSUgrads.com, and we will do our best to accommodate things. I'm going to add some more times to our schedule. So we'll be watching it, but know that things might change every day leading up to the career fair. So be patient and keep checking back because I think you'll see people drop and add, and it's kind of like your class schedule probably. Until you get it just right, you might be moving things around too. So keep an eye on it. But then again, I'd reach out to both higher OSU grads and the employer on file.
Okay, Maddie, any other tips?
No, I don't have anything to add. Ours, we still have open slots on our schedule, so I haven't really put a lot of thought into what we would do if their slots were full and people, if you can get our contact information and approach us and say, hey, we have this, and then we'll still talk with you and we'll make it work. So if FSA personally, if you have a question, reach out to us directly and say, hey, you guys have a full slot. What's your suggestion? I really am interested in a career with you guys.
Yes, and we see so many students that just box themselves in to their major, to their college. There are opportunities for your major or your skill set at all three fairs. And if you do your homework and you research, I think you'll find that you could find opportunities at all 3 days. And I would encourage you to think outside of the box, but we've been getting a lot of those questions at the Career Center. Okay, last question. Is LinkedIn something everyone should be involved with? And how critical do you see a LinkedIn profile being to hiring opportunities?
I would encourage everyone to make a LinkedIn profile. I don't know that it's super critical when it comes to me in hiring someone, but I think that it is very critical in providing networking opportunities for you. So again, it's very similar to Facebook, but just a professional network instead of a friends network. And so there is stuff all the time on LinkedIn about professional development, about events and things that are going on, great articles to read. And I think that it's a great place to go for resources like that. And again, it's a great place to connect with people. So maybe you're not interested in working for InterWorks, but you know that I'm an OSU alum. You could reach out and just ask questions about Oklahoma State or how I got into my role. And I could even serve as kind of a mentor through LinkedIn. So again, not super critical for hiring for me, but I think that it's definitely something that all students should have a LinkedIn profile and keep it up to date, just like your resume.
Okay. Shay?
So yes, I'd agree that it's a really great networking resource. So again, like after this event, you could go add me on LinkedIn, even if you're not interested in one gas. And just as a recruiter in this industry, you know, I'll be sharing different opportunities. Again, my recruiting office is on LinkedIn. So anytime we have job openings, we share them on LinkedIn. Another nice thing is a lot of the universities have their career services offices on LinkedIn, so they're constantly sharing different opportunities and events that they have that ways to engage with employers. So again, a really good networking resource. Definitely recommend if the LinkedIn profile link is in Career Fair Plus to connect with those individuals within your desired industry or field, because a lot of those, for example, if it's IT, a lot of our IT employees are on LinkedIn, and then they participate in community organizations. So we have a very active IT employee that works in it's like a women's IT group. I can't think of it right now. But anyway, so she participates in that and she's a speaker. And if you get plugged into those community organizations and see events going on, it just further expands your networking opportunities and just ways to connect with other employers. And even once you get into an entry-level position or start with a company, it's just a good networking tool to learn about other opportunities.
Okay, Maddie?
The biggest value I see in LinkedIn is networking, and being at OSU, in my personal opinion, I think you guys are already one step up. OSU is great at networking, and even your professors. For instance, I went to the Oklahoma Cattlemen's Association convention, and I saw Dr. Cheryl DeVeast, and it was like we could talk about stuff. And so OSU already does a great job at securing and helping you build networks and kind of making friends with some other people that might help you find a job. And that's the biggest benefit I see with LinkedIn. Personally, with the USDA, we don't use LinkedIn for hiring purposes at all. We use usajobs.gov, and all of our jobs are right there. We never look at the LinkedIn, but the more people you know, and that's pretty great. And so there's just more people that can help you, and you never know when you might need somebody, and just building a friendship or a professional relationship with someone might really be helpful. And you could be well in a secure job and you think that it's going super great, and your friend that you talked to on LinkedIn that had similar interests 8 years ago goes, hey, my company has a position open. We think that you'd be great for the job. You should apply. And then you can open up a whole new door. So LinkedIn is a really great asset just to kind of build relationships.
All right. So it looks like we are right on time, right at 6 o'clock. We appreciate all the questions. To Kelsey, Shay, and Maddie, we appreciate your time this evening and really providing that feedback. We hope for success for you all next week as you move into the virtual career fair environment. And students, if you have questions, those of you attending or who are going to watch this virtually later, feel free to reach out to hireosugrads.com if you need to make an appointment with one of the career services representatives, whether it's in your own academic college or at the Central Career Services office. We are here to help and assist in any way we can. Any final thoughts, Lindsay?
Nope, just a thank you to our panelists and thank you students for being flexible in the technology, and we encourage you to participate in the events the rest of the week so that you can make sure that you're ready to go for next week.
Thank you all so much. Kelsey, Shay, and Maddie, we appreciate it. Have a good meeting.
Have a
Thanks
great
for
evening,
having us.
everybody.
Bye-bye.